tell me a little bit about the work you've been doing through Say Detroit, about your own city and the hardships you have experienced there and how you have tried to address them.
I came to Detroit in 1985, so I've been here a long time. And Detroit is a pretty hard-hit city, and especially during economic downturns, we tend to take it on the chin quite a bit. I started my first charity when I was here after a few years, and after writing Tuesdays with Maury, um, and sort of being guilted into doing more for society by my old professor than I had been doing before. I kind of went full bore into it. I formed a thing called Say Detroit in 2006 after, ironically, we had the Super Bowl here. And I had read that there was going to be a party for the homeless for the Super Bowl. I didn't know what that meant, a party for the homeless. And so I went down and explored it, and turned out it was a euphemism for getting all the homeless off the street so that they wouldn't bother the customers, and putting them into this one big center where there was a television set, and then on Monday morning kicking them back out into the snow. And I thought that was pretty cruel. And so I went down and I spent a night at the homeless shelter, not pretending to be anybody other than I was. I just wanted to write about the experience. And this isn't something that give to people and then take away. And while I was online for the meal, I got my bed and my blanket and my bar of soap and all that. And then I was online for the meal, and this guy in front of me turned around and he looked me up and down and he said, "Aren't you Mitch Albom?" And I said, "Yeah." And then he looked me up and down again. He said, "So what happened to you?" And that was a really important moment in my life, even though I laughed when it happened. But I realized that he had every right to ask me that question. And if not for the grace of God, it could have been me. And in the years like 2006, 7, 8, 9, going through the real estate crisis, there were a lot of people who never thought they'd be on those lines that suddenly found themselves there. And so I wrote a column about it, and I tried to raise enough money to keep everybody who was in those shelters for the Super Bowl in them for at least another 3 months until the weather warmed up. And I needed to get $60,000, and I ended up getting $320,000 in a week, just from people sending in $5 and $10 donations because they were moved by the same thing I was. And so I used that to create Say Detroit, which stands for Super All Year Detroit instead of Super for one weekend. And we've grown from that into an organization that umbrellas 9 separate charitable operations. We have a daycare center for children as young as 5 days old whose mothers and or parents are going through treatment or homelessness, and so they have no place to put their kids if they're trying to get a job, to the nation's first medical clinic for homeless children, which used to be a huge problem here in Detroit, because if you took homeless children to a hospital for medical care, emergency room, they would ask for an address, and if you didn't have an address or you lived at a shelter, they would call social services and take the kids away. And so consequently, nobody who was homeless ever brought their kids in for medical care because they were afraid they would lose them. So we created this clinic that asked no questions and became the first in the country to do that, and still going strong. Now takes care of the entire population. We have a big rec center, an after-school rec center for 300 kids that does everything from football, baseball, basketball, soccer, and the rest, to a digital learning center with computers and a reporting studio and things like that, and many, many other programs. And it's a multi-million-dollar operation now that grew from that one column. And I spend more than half of my work week on that and Haiti, and then I spend the rest of it trying to write books.